Every year, all of us have special dates and events that are important to our lives. Birthdays, anniversaries, and the many holidays that we celebrate throughout the year are very important dates. Hey, if you're a sports fan, there are several big dates and important events: the Super Bowl, March Madness, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup, the World Series, Indianapolis 500, the Masters, the U.S. Open, and many, many others. And if you're a fan, those dates will be important to you. Even the federal government has a few big dates throughout the year, one of those being April 15th, Tax Day. And as you may know, Medicare also has a couple of real important dates. October 15th to December 7th, we call that the AEP. And January 1 to March 31, we call that the OEP. But there's one big date that is without a doubt more important this year than it's ever been before, and that is September 30th. This is the deadline for you to receive a packet of information from your present insurance company called an ANOC. You do not want to miss this year's ANOC. If you accidentally throw it away as junk mail or disregard it in any way, you're making a huge mistake. In this video, I'm going to explain why this year's ANOC is more important than it's ever been before and why it's so critical that you read it through carefully and completely. All right, so in this video, we're going to cover 6 different questions. All right, so this is question number 1, which is the obvious. What is the ANOC? Well, the ANOC is the annual notice of change. Okay, annual notice of change. You'll see here in a few minutes, the whole purpose of this ANOC is because Medicare allows some plans to be good for only 1 year, and that's a calendar year. And those plans have the right to change what they want to going into 2026. So every year they've got to let you know what that plan will look like if you stay on the plan in the coming year. So again, it's this insurance company's notice to you as to what it is that they are going to be changing. The second question is this: when should the ANOC arrive? Well, the insurance companies, by regulation, they're supposed to have that in your hand no later than September 30th. Okay, and sometimes it's a week or two before then, but definitely by the 30th. And the reason for that is because it won't be long after this date where the Medicare annual enrollment period, which is October 15th through December 7th, we call this the annual enrollment period. So the whole idea is the insurance companies are supposed to get that in your hands 2 weeks prior to this annual enrollment period beginning. Now, keep in mind, if you haven't received it by this particular date, what I would do, if you are on an annual plan, an Advantage plan or prescription drug plan, you need to call the customer service line on the back of your card and tell them you didn't receive your ANOC, and they will send a copy out to you. All right, that brings us then to question number 3, and that's this: who will receive an ANOC? Well, that is going to vary depending upon how you've chosen to use your Medicare benefits. So let me clarify by going through the different Medicare coverage options that we have when we go on Medicare. The first one is some people decide to enroll into Medicare A and B only. Now, this is not the most popular, but actually 10% of all people just have A and B only. They don't have any additional insurance. And so if this is you, you're not going to get an ANOC. Okay, now can there be changes to Medicare A? There can be. Medicare A gaps will change in 2026, but that's not what the ANOC is for. Will there be changes for Medicare B? Probably. Right now, the Part B premium is $185 a month. I would suspect that they're going to raise that. But again, that's not the purpose of the ANOC. They will notify us later in the year, usually around November, December, as to what the Part B premium will be for 2026. Okay, so the point is, if you're on A and B, the ANOC does not apply to you whatsoever. Second option we have is to enroll in A and B, making Medicare what? The first payer, but then get a Medigap policy so that you don't have all the liability to pay second. Most people today are either getting an F plan, a G plan, or an N plan. Now, majority of you watching this are probably not an F plan, because the only people that today can have F plans are those that actually started Medicare prior to 1/1 of 2020. After 1/1/2020, it's been your G plan and N plan that are your most popular. The G is most comprehensive, covers 5 of 6 gaps. N, still very good plan, but it covers 4 of 6 gaps. The N will not cover excess if and when that occurs. Excess doesn't happen often, so there's not a whole lot more risk, but the N plan is not quite as comprehensive. It's going to be cheaper by usually about $40 or $50 a month, and you have some co-pays with the N plan as well. So I'm not going to teach on that, but other than just simply say that the majority of people today, they're getting a Medigap policy or either getting the G or the N plan. All right, so then when we go this direction, we have A and B and our Medigap for our inpatient and outpatient services, but when it comes to our self-admitted prescription prescription drugs, we're going to have a Part D plan. We call these plans standalone plans. Standalone. Okay, now back to our topic of ANOC. Well, what's going to happen? Well, again, your A and B, they're not going to send you an ANOC. The Medigap policy, they're not going to send you an ANOC because your Medigap policies are lifetime. They're not annual plans at all. Now, certainly your plans can increase in premium, but those have nothing, folks, to do with this October 15th to December 7th date at all. Supplemental plans change at different times depending on the carrier. The majority of them change at the effective date of your policy on an annual basis. Some change maybe around birthday, but the point is it's nothing to do with your ANOC. So you're not going to get an annual notice of change for this. When your premium goes up, they give you about a 30 to 60 day notice, but again, that's usually prior to the anniversary of your policy. But you do have a standalone drug plan, and these are going to be 1 year, right? So again, your ANOC is going to apply there, and I'll show you kind of what you're going to look at here in just a few minutes. But if you're using your Medicare like this, A and B with a Medigap with a standalone drug plan, which is about 40% of the population, then again, you're going to get that ANOC around September the 30th. Now we go to our third option for coverage, and that would be people who have chosen to replace A and B, meaning they enroll in A and B, but they replace it by a private health insurance company. And of course, those are called Part Cs. These are obviously referred to as Medicare Advantage plans, right? Medicare Advantage. And this is what 50%, or actually a little bit more now, about 50% of the population has. And so because, again, Advantage plans are annual plans, like drug plans, you are going to get an ANOC around that date of September 13th. I want to clarify something. When it comes to Part C plans, there's actually two ways we can get those. We can either get those as we refer to as MA only, which means inpatient, outpatient only. And the only people that can legitimately and wisely do this are those that are getting their medications to the VA through TRICARE, because they have TRICARE insurance, retired military, or they're members of the civil service retirees, and they have federal employee health benefits, FEHB. Those three groups of people have drug coverage that is credible, so they don't have to get a prescription Part D plan. They really already have one that's equivalent. Again, VA, TRICARE, FEHB, you can actually get an MA only plan, and again, you're still going to get an ANOC because you have a Part C plan. Now, if you're not VA, TRICARE, or FEHB, then you are always going to get an embedded Part D plan. It comes with it, it's included, and we call those plans MAPD. And again, you're going to get an ANOC September 30th to talk about those changes for your MAPD plan. All right, that brings us then to question number 4, and that's this. Why is the ANOC so important? Well, as a reminder, Advantage plans and prescription drug plans are what? They're 1-year calendar plans, okay? And that is it. They go from January 1 to December 31. And so as we look into 2026, you realize that these plans can make any change that they want. Well, within reason, of course, there are some guidelines, but they pretty much can change anything they want. They can take the plan and they could improve it, right? They could take the plan and decrease it. You could be on a plan that has a 0 premium, and this year they decide they're going to add a premium to the plan, meaning they can change any of the components that they want to. They're only bound to whatever they decided for this year. They're not bound to next year. And so again, the plan could be better, it could be worse. The plan could actually even be eliminated. They can withdraw the plan. We're going to see a lot of that going into 2026. So because they have the right to change anything that they want to, that's why this is so important. Now here's what happens. If someone throws their ANOC in the trash and doesn't do anything, and then what's going to happen is that plan, when you don't make any switches, it auto-renews. And by the way, as long as I read my ANOC and I'm happy with the plan and you do nothing, it auto-renews, that's fine. But I don't want a plan to auto-renew because you didn't take the time to go through the ANOC to know what you're going to be up against. I can't tell you the amount of people that will call us in January or February and say, hey, what happened to my plan? Something's changed. They're not covering my medication anymore. Now I'm paying a premium or I'm paying a higher copay. Well, I know what happened. You didn't read your ANOC because they gave you notice and you didn't take the time to review that. And so what happens? You do nothing, it auto-renews. But this also, it's so important because now if you see something in the plan that you're not happy with, now we have this opportunity to switch between October 15th and December 7th. Now, got an illustration here. I kind of want to share with you the way I look at the ANOC. I kind of see it like a stoplight. Folks, when you and I are driving and we come to a very busy intersection where there's lots of cars coming and going, what happens? That stoplight is there for our protection. It's there to tell us, can we proceed or not? And this is really what the ANOC is all about. It's going to show you, should you proceed or not? Now, some of you, what's going to happen? You're not. There's going to be something that's in that ANOC that's going to say, hey, whoa, stop. I don't like this plan any longer. My doctor's no longer covered. And now they have a deductible. The max out of pocket is double this year. I'm not happy with the plan. You're going to stop. You're going to do something differently. Others of you, you're going to look at your ANOC. It's going to be a green light. You're going to say, hey, this plan didn't change much. I'm still happy with the plan. My doctor's still in the network. I can go to the hospitals I want to go to. My max out of pocket is reasonable. So in other words, you look at the ANOC and you're happy with that. And then it's giving you the green light. And again, I'm all right with the green light as long as you have done your homework. And others of you, there's going to be some caution. There's going to be some things that are different. And it's going to probably cause you to pause for a time and to maybe take a look at some other plans. And again, we'd be delighted to help you to do that. But the point is, I see the ANOC as the notice, just like that stoplight is a notice at a very dangerous intersection. And it tells you what to do. And the ANOC will tell you what to do, whether you should proceed or not. Okay? And so hopefully that illustration will help you because this truly is a very important document, especially this year as we're expecting many, many changes to occur. Hey, if you found this video helpful and if you want to see more Medicare information just like it, then go below, right below the video, and you can give us a thumbs up as well as subscribe to our channel. And every time I put a new video, which is about 2 every week, you'll be notified of that video, and others just like you who need this vital information will get it as well. All right, that brings us into question number 4, and that is this one: what to look for in the 2026 ANOC. And so again, we have 2 different types of ANOCs. We have those of you that have chosen to be on original Medicare A and B, a supplemental plan. Now you have what is referred to as what? A standalone drug plan. So whatever drug plan you're on, they're going to send you that ANOC again, by September the 30th. Those of you that have chosen to get a replacement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, you're going to get a separate ANOC for that Advantage plan, okay, including in and outpatient type of services as well as your drug plan. Okay, so let's go back. Let's talk about these individually. What are you looking for? So number one question is this: is your plan still available? There's going to be some plans dropped this year. There's going to be what we call service area reductions. Whenever the government passed the Inflation Reduction Act, they required that insurance companies assume more risk. They have to take more responsibility that Medicare used to carry. They transfer that to insurance companies. So there's fewer and fewer companies willing to actually participate in the Part D plan. And so you got to find out, is your plan still available? And also, there may be some plans that what'll happen is that exact plan is not still available, but what they're going to do is they're going to crosswalk you. They're going to move you into, automatically enroll you into one of their other plans. And again, you don't have to keep that plan, but they'll automatically renew you into that plan, and then you have to pick another one to be disenrolled from that plan. So that's what we're going to check on first. Is it still available? And if it is still available to you, then the first thing you're going to look at is the formulary. This is the most important part of any kind of a drug plan, and that is the list of the medications that are covered. You want to make sure your medications are covered by the plan. Now, the reason this matters is because I would rather have a plan, even if I had to pay a little higher premium for it, than I would have a lower cost plan that didn't have my meds covered. Why? Well, because as long as my medications are covered by the plan, then I am subject to the maximum out of pocket on a drug plan. This year it's $2,000. It's going up actually to $2,100 next year. So as long as that plan is in the formulary, I don't care if it costs $15,000 a month, you'll spend no more than $2,100, throughout the year next year. And so that's why the formulary matters. Now, let me just give you a basic education about formularies. There's basically 3 types of formularies. There would be a basic one formulary, has 2,500 meds. And then there's a good plan, which should be about 3,000 meds. Then you have a better one, which is going to have about 3,500 medications. So when you see the different formularies and different prices, typically a higher premium plan means it's a broader formulary. And you may have to be on that to get all your medications covered. If you take a few meds, a basic plan will be just fine for you. You can always change them on an annual basis anyways. But the whole point is, this is what I'm looking for. Now, as I look at my formulary, I'm also going to be looking to see where are my medications tiered. You may be on a medication this year, it's a tier 1. Next year, it's a tier 2, or it's a tier 1, they move to a tier 3. Also, what we're seeing this year, we're going to see some plans, medications that have just a flat copay, maybe $10 or $15, that next year, it's going to go to co-insurance. So instead just of a flat copay, now it may be 25% of the retail cost. And so you want to be paying attention to the extra cost of the medication. Another thing I'd be looking at is you look at the formulary, are there any medications that require prior authorization, meaning some paperwork that has to be provided by you or the doctor to make sure you can get that prescription filled, okay? And so that's a big deal. We also have a thing called step therapy. Some medications in the formulary require that you try a generic equivalent or a generic alternative before they will actually fill the brand name medication. So that's critical. Also, we want to be paying attention to the pharmacies, because there's two types of pharmacies in every drug plan. There will be those that are preferred and those that are standard. And so what happens, every plan will identify a few pharmacies that are preferred. They give you the better pricing. So you may be using a pharmacy this year that's a preferred pharmacy, but next year it may be standard. And they may not offer you the best price. So be paying attention to that. You want to be at a pharmacy where that plan accepts it as a preferred pharmacy, better pricing. Now, sometimes when it comes to your generic medications, there's not a huge difference, but brand names can certainly be different. So again, we're paying attention to what pharmacy that you want to go to is rated. Is it preferred or is it standard? Again, preferred is going to get your best prices. And so these are the kind of things that we'll be looking at as we go through our ANOC to make sure that we're going to be on the right plan. And so if you go through your ANOC and again you realize, hey, this is still a good plan, do nothing and it's going to automatically renew. But if you're dissatisfied for whatever reason, any of these things or anything else that you see within that plan, then you're probably going to need to switch. All right, so let's talk now about the ANOCs that come to those of you that are on your C plans. And these are Advantage plans. Medicare Advantage could be embedded with the drug plan or not if you're getting your meds again through the VA, TRICARE, or FEHB. But for the sake of this video, let's assume that you're on an MA PD plan, Medicare Advantage, in an outpatient, prescription drug plan, all embedded. So again, what are we looking for? First thing, is a plan still available? We're going to see a tremendous amount of service area reductions. There are many of the companies are going to drop certain counties. They're just not going to provide those Advantage plans, especially in more rural areas for sure. Also, we're going to see a lot of crosswalking. So the plan is allowed to, by Medicare, to actually enroll you automatically into another one of their plans. They crosswalk you from one to another. Now, that doesn't mean you have to keep the plan, but you're going to have to take the initiative to actually switch that to not be crosswalked into the plan. And then what we're going to do, we're going to look at a lot of details here. First off, is your plan an HMO or a PPO plan? There are going to be fewer and fewer PPO plans for 2026. You want to find out about that. The difference is HMO has a little bit more of a restricted network. PPO will be a larger network, more hospitals, more doctors to choose from because they get paid more money. And a PPO, you have the right to go out of the network. All right, so definitely be paying attention to that. And then we also want to look at specifics, who's in the network, okay? Which means we want to make sure that your doctors and your specialists and your hospitals are actually going to be still in the network. We'll find sometimes a doc or hospital's in the network this year, but they're not going to participate in that same plan the following year. So again, identify any network changes for the providers that you want to see. And then we're going to pay attention to the copays, right? So what's it going to cost you to see your primary care doctor? Maybe $0, maybe $10. What's it going to cost you to see a specialist? Somewhere between $25 to maybe $50. How about go to the hospital? Maybe $300 or $400 a day. An MRI or a CAT scan, outpatient surgery, those kind of things are going to have copays. So be sure you're comfortable with those copays. And then also the annual max out of pocket. Now, every plan has to set a max, and again, it's going to vary. Some of the plans will be anywhere from maybe $4,000 to $6,000. If you go out of network, it could be $7,000 to $12,000. But that out-of-pocket max is what you're responsible for if you had a serious illness. And then if we reach the max out-of-pocket, we're done paying out-of-pocket for the rest of the year, and then those max out-of-pockets reset in January. So let's find out what your liability is. If you had cancer, something really serious happened, what is that going to cost you? And then again, if we have an embedded drug plan, then what's going to happen? We're going to pay attention to some of these details over here. What's the formulary? What are my medications? going to cost me? Are they a tiered or are they a co-insurance? And I want to clarify something, and really this is going to apply to both sides, because what happens is you need to pay attention. Does your plan have a deductible on the medical side, A and B side, hospital, different things? We're seeing that happening now. Used to, most Advantage plans didn't have a medical deductible, but they would usually have some type of a pharmacy deductible. Now, this next year, we believe we're going to see some medical deductibles on certain services and then a prescription drug deductible. All right, and so the way that works, and I'm going to kind of use this side to teach it, this year, the Part D deductible, this is the D deductible, Part D, our prescription plan, has a deductible of $590. $590 this year. Next year, it's going to $615. It's going up $25. But what I'm trying to teach you here is on the drug deductible. Not all medications are subject to deductible. Usually your tier 1 and tier 2 are deductible exempt. You just pay a copay. But if I'm on tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 medication, an expensive generic or a brand name medication, I'm probably going to have to meet my deductible. So that means I have to pay the first $590 this year. Next year, the deductible again is going to $615. So if I have a medication that's not deductible exempt, then I'm going to have to pay the first $615, and that could apply over here as well. So you want to make sure you know about your deductibles, okay? And so the whole point is we're paying attention to the details of these particular plans, because we want to make sure that it is going to be a fit for us or not. Again, we're going to use caution. We're going to make sure that they're not making some kind of change that's going to be adverse to us. We don't want to make a plan or accept a plan that is not really going to be in our best interest. All right? And so pay attention to these details. Hey, if you're finding this video to be helpful and you would like to learn more about Medicare, you'll notice up here in the right-hand corner, there's an I. And if you'll click on that I, it's going to take you to a 20-minute workshop. I see people make mistakes all the time, and we don't want that to happen to you. And that's why we're giving you free access to this workshop. So go ahead, click the link, and learn more about Medicare. All right, that brings us to our final question. Let's go through these different options that you're going to have. So what can you do during AEP? Now, let's be reminded, when we talk about AEP, this is October 15th through December the 7th. What can you do? Let's look at the different coverage options. We saw this earlier. If a person has A and B only, what can they do? Well, first off, you can do nothing. If you choose to go ahead and just keep A and B only, that's certainly up to you. I think it's very risky. I would not recommend that at all. There's too much financial liability here. That's why this group of people is the second largest holder of medical debt in the country, A and B only folks. So that is an option. Another thing you could do here is you could actually add a supplemental plan. Remember, we talked about the top two plans today are going to be the G or the N plan. Now, if you've been on B more than 6 months, then you're going to have to medically qualify to do that. But if your health is generally good, we can probably find a care that actually will allow us to add a supplemental plan to your coverage. I would recommend that to reduce much of the financial risk that you have. You also, at this time of the year, can add a prescription drug plan. Go ahead and pick out that Part D plan. We'd be delighted to show you how to do that to make sure that you're going to be on the right drug plan. This is the only time of the year you can do that. And then also what you could do, if you didn't want to pay a premium for a supplemental plan, a drug plan, then what you could do is you can add what? You can add a Part C plan. One of these Medicare Advantage plans. And we'll take the time to make sure your docs are in network, hospitals in network, your medications are covered, and all the things that would matter. So you can do that right now. You can't add it any other time other than October 15th to December the 7th. So those are your options. All right, that brings us to the second way in which we can use our Medicare benefits, and that is we enroll in A and B as the first payer, supplemental plan as the second payer. Again, most people have F, G, or N, and get a standalone Part D plan. So the first option you have is do nothing. In other words, if you're very satisfied with your premium on your Medigap policy and your drug plan is still a good drug plan for you for 2026, do nothing. Everything is simply going to automatically renew. But you also could just simply change your supplemental plan, okay? You may be on an F plan and you want to move to a G or an N, or you're on a G and you want to save a little money and move to an N plan. Now, again, you can change supplemental plans anytime you want to. They're not tied to this time of the year, but you could still do it if you'd like to. And the majority of you are going to have to go through underwriting, or at least some underwriting, to make this switch. But again, that would be an option for you. Okay, when it comes to the supplemental plan, if you can improve your position, we'd be delighted to show you your options for that. When it comes to your Part D plan, again, do nothing, all right? If the plan is still good, keep it, it auto renews. Or you can change it. Now, what's critical about this is the only time of the year you can change your drug plan. And again, if you're our client, we help facilitate this. If you're not, we'd be happy to show you how to do this to make sure your medications are covered, that you're choosing a preferred pharmacy to save money. And so we go through those aspects of the plan. But certainly if your drug plan's been dropped, you're going to change it. But take the time to make the comparison. And again, we facilitate all this for you. All right? And then if you wanted, let's say you say, hey, I can't afford my Medigap policy anymore, my separate drug plan. Then you can also change, and this is the only time you can do it, you can change to an Advantage plan, that C plan. And again, the only time, October 15th through December 7th, you can get off your supplemental plan and move to Advantage. Now, we make the decision during these dates, October 15th, December 7th, but your supplemental plan that you're on would be yours until December 31, and then you'll start that Advantage plan January 1. And what happens is that Advantage plan enrollment during these days will actually kick out your prescription drug plan effective 12/31. You'll cancel your supplemental plan, and then you're covered by an Advantage for January 1 on. All right, so that's those of you with that option. All right, that brings us into those of you that have Medicare Advantage plans. And so you've read through your ANOC, and so what will be your options? Well, like always, do nothing if you're happy with the plan. You've made sure you're happy with the network still, your doctors are still covered, hospitals are, you're comfortable with the copays, comfortable with the max out of pocket, your medications are still covered well, and so do nothing. Now, another thing you can do is you can change Advantage. So let's say you are part of a service area reduction, or your plan was eliminated, or crosswalk to a plan you're not happy with. Well, change Medicare Advantage plans. Now, I want you to note something. You can do this October 15th through December 7th, and you also can do this January 1 to March 31. This is an exception. These dates here are just for those that are on Advantage plans. They have an additional time to switch. But again, this would be a great time to do it if your plan's no longer available or been crosswalked to a worse plan. You can change Advantage plans. You don't have to go through medical underwriting. It's not necessary. You pick a plan that's in your zip code that will meet your needs. You're happy with the max out of pocket. You're happy with the network. You're happy with the prescription drug coverage. You can do that right now. Okay, change Advantage plan. Also, you have the right to return to A and B. You can get off of your Advantage plan and go back to the original Medicare system A and B. All right? Now, here's what happens though. If you've been on Advantage plan more than a year, let's say a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years, what happens, you actually can add to A and B, add a supplemental plan. But to do that, you're going to have to medically qualify. Okay, so we would never cancel an Advantage plan until we first went through underwriting on the supplemental plan. Then once we know we have the supplemental plan approval, then of course then you're going to be able to cancel the Advantage plan effective 1/1. But they have the right to do it. We return to original Medicare. We can do it this time of the year. We add that supplemental plan, F plan, G plan, N plan, whatever you want there. And again, underwriting is going to be required. And then we also have the right to add that standalone prescription drug plan. Yours has been embedded. Now it's going to be separate like it is over here. And again, what happens when we do the enrollment, once the supplemental plan has been approved, then we pick out the right drug plan, and that automatically will kick out your Advantage plan, and you'll have a supplemental plan effective 1/1/2026 and a drug plan effective 1/1/26 as well. So what I hope you've learned is pay attention to the details of your ANOC, consider your choices. We'd be privileged you reach out to us. We'll walk you through this to make sure that you are making the right decisions.